You know, life doesn't hand out trophies for potential. It hands them to the ones who decide, the ones who shape their thoughts like sculptors shape stone. The real contest is not out there in the world, it's in your mind. Most people lose long before they ever begin, not because they're not capable, but because their mind has already convinced them they can't. You see, success is not something you chase, it's something you become. And the question, my friend, is not, can you win? The real question is, can you think like a winner before the results ever show up? Because the moment you change your philosophy, everything changes. The moment you take control of your inner world, the outer world begins to follow. You don't need a perfect plan to begin, you just need to begin. That's the first distinction between those who win and those who wish. Winners don't wait for everything to line up, they take inventory of what they do have and they get to work. See, most people spend their lives looking out the window, waiting for conditions to improve. But winners, they look in the mirror and ask, what can I build with what's already in my hands? I remember when I first started out, I didn't have a big education, I didn't have the right background, and I certainly didn't have money, but I had ambition, and I had time. Most people don't fail because they lack tools, they fail because they never pick them up. They're always saying, if only I had more money, if only I had better luck, if only I had more support. That kind of thinking leads you nowhere. It's like standing in front of a fireplace and saying, give me heat, and then I'll add the wood. Life doesn't work that way. One fellow I met was working as a janitor. He told me, I hate my job. I said, then use it to buy your freedom. He thought I was joking. But I told him, if you clean floors like you own the place and use every dollar to invest in your mind, you won't be cleaning forever. A few years later, he wasn't. The job didn't change and the man did. Seneca said, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. And preparation starts with what's in your hand right now. Winners don't wait for more. They become more. That's the mindset that makes all the difference. If you want your life to change, you have to take full responsibility for it. No blame, no excuses. That's the mindset that separates the ones who rise from the ones who remain. See, when you hand over responsibility, you hand over power. And the moment you blame circumstances, other people, or the past, you've given up the steering wheel of your own future. I used to blame a lot. I blamed the economy. I blamed my lack of education. I even blamed the weather. But one day I had to look myself in the mirror and ask, who's been with me every day of my life? And the answer, of course, was me. That's when I stopped pointing fingers and started planting seeds. That's when things began to change. Winners don't say, the company didn't treat me right, or my parents didn't teach me, or I never got the lucky break. They say, what can I do with what I have? Well, they understand that excuses are like exit signs. They lead you away from growth. Every time you say, it's not my fault, you walk further from the solution. But when you say, this is mine to fix, you take the first step toward freedom. A man once told me, my manager never gave me a chance. I said, then give yourself a chance. Build your skills. Read the books. Learn the trade. Find another door if one is closed. Life responds to the person who says, even if it's not my fault, it's still my responsibility. The philosopher Epictetus said, asterisk, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Asterisk. And I say, your reaction is your responsibility. You can't control the rain, but you can carry an umbrella. You can't control the wind, but you can adjust the sails. That's what Winners do. They stop waiting for conditions to change and start becoming the person who can change them. That shift in mindset, that quiet decision to take ownership, is what transforms average into extraordinary. You see, the greatest battle you'll ever face is not out in the world, it's inside your own mind. Winners know this. They know that if they allow weak thoughts to take root, they'll never rise above their circumstances. It's not talent or luck that separates the winner from the struggler, it's the discipline to guard your mind, to train it like a muscle, and to refuse entry to the thoughts that weaken your spirit. I've seen too many men and women sabotage themselves, not with their actions, but with their thinking. They say things like, I'm not good enough, or this is too hard for me. And before long, their actions follow the path their thoughts have paved. The mind is a garden. If you plant weeds, don't expect roses. But if you nourish strong, powerful thoughts, the results will come. There was a time when I faced great uncertainty. I had setbacks, doubts, and fears that whispered I wouldn't make it. But I learned to confront those whispers with stronger voices. I can learn. I will grow. This challenge is an opportunity. And over time, those voices became louder until the weak ones faded into silence. Marcus Aurelius, a man who understood the power of the mind, said, asterisk, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Asterisk. That strength comes from daily training. It's not enough to hope for positive thoughts. You must cultivate them. You must challenge every doubt, every excuse, and every fear until your mind becomes a fortress of resilience. A practical example, consider the athlete who trains every day, pushing through fatigue, pain, and doubt. They don't just build muscle, they build mental toughness. The same applies to your mind. Winners refuse to entertain weak thoughts. Instead, they replace them with questions like, how can I? And statements like, I will figure this out. That is the mindset that propels action, shapes habits, and ultimately creates the success they desire. Your mind is your most valuable asset. Guard it well. Train it daily. Because what you think, you become. There's a quiet power in making a decision and then never questioning it again. Winners understand this better than anyone. They don't wake up every morning asking themselves, should I work today? Or do I feel like pushing forward? They make their choice once firmly and clearly, and then they move forward without hesitation. That's the mindset that sets them apart. Think about it. Every time you negotiate with yourself, every time you second guess your decisions, you give doubt a foothold. That hesitation, even if it's small, grows like a weed. It slows you down. It drains your energy. It kills momentum. Most people are their own worst enemies because they debate in their minds instead of acting with certainty. Early in my life, I noticed something remarkable about successful people. Once they made a decision, they were relentless. A man decides to get up at 5 a.m. to work on his goals, and he doesn't question that decision at 5:01. A woman commits to saving a portion of her income, and she doesn't negotiate when a temptation arises. That commitment, that refusal to waver, is what builds character and success. Philosopher William James said, asterisk, the greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another. Asterisk, the same is true for action. You choose once, then you train your mind and body to follow that choice, no matter what the mood or circumstance. Winners don't rely on feelings, they rely on discipline. I recall a time when I was tempted to skip a crucial meeting. The easy choice was to stay home, to rest. But because I had already decided that my commitment to growth was non-negotiable, I showed up. That choice didn't just build my business, it built my character. So ask yourself, are you negotiating with yourself today? Or have you made the decision to win once and for all? Winners don't debate, they decide, and they act. That's how momentum is created, and how success becomes inevitable. Fear is a feeling every human knows, yet few learn to master it. The difference between winners and the rest is not the absence of fear, it's what they do with it. Most people let fear become a fence, a barrier that stops them from moving forward, a voice that whispers, "Stay where it's safe." But winners use fear as fuel. They harness that energy to propel themselves into action. I remember early in my career feeling the heavy weight of fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown. It threatened to paralyze me, but I made a choice. Instead of turning back, I leaned into it. I said to myself, if I'm afraid, it means I'm about to grow. That mindset shifted everything. The ancient Stoics understood this well. Seneca once said, asterisk, sometimes even to live is an act of courage. Asterisk, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the triumph over it. When you use fear as fuel, you don't avoid the difficult paths, you run toward them. You learn that fear is simply a signal that you're stepping outside your comfort zone, and that is where growth lives. Take the entrepreneur who invests in a new idea, uncertain if it will succeed. The fear is there, but instead of letting it fence them in, they use it to sharpen their focus, double their effort, and persist longer than anyone else. Fear becomes the energy behind their hustle. When you start to view fear as a tool instead of a trap, you begin to take risks you once avoided. You begin to push past discomfort and challenge your limits. Fear, instead of paralyzing you, becomes the fuel that drives you to take action. So I ask you, will you let fear fence you in, or will you use it to fuel your journey? Winners don't deny fear, they embrace it and let it push them forward. That is the mindset that transforms obstacles into opportunities and setbacks into comebacks. As we come to the close of this conversation, remember this. The mindset that separates winners from the rest is not about luck, talent, or circumstance. It's about the decisions you make inside your mind every single day. Winners choose to act despite fear. They refuse to negotiate with themselves. They embrace discomfort, and they trust their own vision above all else. This is not some abstract theory. It's a practical way of living that you can start right now. The power to transform your life lies within you, in the way you think, the choices you make, and the habits you build. Success is not handed out. It is earned through relentless mental discipline and unwavering commitment. Now is the time to decide who you will become. Will you wait for perfect conditions, or will you start with what you have? Will you let fear fence you in, or use it as fuel to drive you? The choice is yours. I challenge you today. Commit to training your mind like a winner, to take action without hesitation, and to refuse to settle for anything less than your best. Your future begins with the mindset you cultivate today. Choose to win.